to teach pronunciation. 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 There are 3 points we will talk about them. Number 1, introducing basic sounds. Number 2, practicing rhythm on stress. Number 3, teaching proper intonation. At first, you as a teacher should explain how the students should use their lips and tongue to form unfamiliar sounds. Because we know understanding native speakers' speech is a key skill, and ESL, English as a second language, pronunciation can be tricky. Number 1, introducing basic vowels. And you should clarify as a teacher that vowels has 2 kinds, short vowel and long vowels. And the syllables is very important for them to pronounce correctly. You know that the short vowel is in words ended with consonant, like mat, cat, hat, fat, and mat. And we should clarify for the students that the words that has vowel sound plus vowel sound, we will pronounce the first sound as long vowel, but the second is silent. But you should notice that there are exceptions for the rule, like the past participle of read. We say read at present and read in the past perfect or the past tense. We pronounce it like read. We know that these are the 5 basic vowels: O, A, I, E, and U. And the rest of the alphabet letters are consonants like R, T, S, L, F. And then we should clarify for the students the CH and DR and GR, SH and TR. Don't forget that th sound is difficult for the students in English. And every language has a difficulty in its sounds, like Mandarin and Korean have difficulty in the letter R and the letter L. After you clarified the consonants and the vowels and short vowels and long vowels, the second step, you must demonstrate sound by exaggerating your mouth, lips, and tongue for your students to make phonemes of the basic sounds of the English language. And you must focus on th and the sound. After that, you should encourage your students to practice unfamiliar sounds gently, correct them, and help them by saying it with an example and repeating the pronunciation for them. That will take time to train their mouth and tongue to speak correctly, since we aren't native speakers. The step after that, you should assign weekly vocabulary words to help the students memorize exceptions. After that, practicing rhythm and stress. Here you can simplify the meaning of rhythm and stress for your students. You can explain that in English words and the syllables are stressed in order to convey meaning and to focus on emotion or describe the differences between content and function words. You know the function words that for grammatical purpose and the content that you teach the students that they are essential for to a phrase's main idea. And the third part is stress more than function words. You know that content words are more stressed than function words. And you should focus on rising falling intonation in the declarative sentence and the questions. How emphasis can change a phrase's meaning? Explain to your students that the students changing the stressed words, it changes the statement's meanings. After that, you can teach proper intonation and say for them that falling intonation at the end of the declarative sentence. The speaker lowers her pitch or their pitch to indicate that they finish making a declarative statement. And you should clarify that the declarative statement claims something, an imperative sentence gives a command, intonations usually falls at the end of there. After that, we have interrogative. When you ask a question or an exclamation about something, declare something with excitement, you usually rises at the end of it. When I say she likes strawberries, I focus on strawberries. But in the mid-sentence clause, intonation waves after it, like she likes strawberries, figs, and grapes. We low the end of the sentence. In questions, I explain to the students how intonation rises at the end of the question. To ask for clarification. When you indicate shock or surprise or confusion, exclamation can be raise the intonation at the end. For example, it's so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Also, you should explain that the speakers and the question with lower pitch to express dissatisfaction. When I say, are you going to cinema? Lower intonation, clear disappointment or disinterest. And rising explains the excitement. And the important point in this, when you teach pronunciation, you should focus on linked and reduced sound, like wanna, that means want to. Gonna, that means going to. And we don't pronounce ing at the end of the word. Gotta, that means have got to. And these words used to reduce the words and the syllables. Now, don't forget to focus on schwa sound. Schwa sound and its role in natural English pronunciation. So, it's a challenge for ESL students to use the schwa sound in words. For example, cup, we have short U. About, this is a. Doctor, this is O. Summer, this is a. They are all schwa sound. You should focus on linking like next to. We notice that the last t in next plus t here, they will make one t sound. Another example, the orange. The last vowel linked with the first vowel of the second word. And contraction. Do you know the contraction is very important in pronunciation? And we use contraction when we speak to our friends and family members every day. However, contractions is considered inappropriate in formal writing documents. Or for professionals like professors and employers or personal statements or cover letters. Contraction is a shortened form of a group of words in oral or written communication. When we write contraction in English, we replace the deleted letters by an apostrophe. She, she'd. The apostrophe d means had or would. She'll. The apostrophe ll means shall. And she's equals she is and she has. He, you should pronounce had instead of he had or he would. He'll instead of he will or he shall. His instead of he is or he has. And verb to do, you better say that don't instead of do not, doesn't instead of does not, didn't instead of did not. We have the contraction of I'd instead of I had or I would, I'll instead of will or shall. You can pronounce I'll or I'll. Instead of I am, I've instead of I have. And the contractions of shall. Shan't means shall not. Might means that might not. Mustn't means must not. Can't instead of cannot. Couldn't instead of could not. Shouldn't instead of should not. Won't instead of will not. Wouldn't instead of would not. The contraction of it's is better than it is, but you should focus and differentiate between it's as contraction and of it is and its possessive pronoun. That we have apostrophe here, but we don't have apostrophe here, but they are the same pronunciation. It's. We, where, instead of we are or we are. With, instead of we had or we would. With, instead we have, instead of we have. You'd, instead of you had. You'll, instead of you will. Your instead of you are. We pronounce your here like your as a possessive pronoun. You've instead of you have. The contraction of they. They'd instead of they had or they would. They've instead of they have. Their instead of they are. They'll instead of they will. Notice that that's for that is or that has. There's for there is or there has. And we don't miss let's with the apostrophe, it means let us. Oh, we don't forget verb to have. Hasn't instead of has not, haven't instead of haven't, have not, sorry, hadn't instead of had not, and the verb to be isn't instead of is not, aren't, are not, weren't, were not. You should also focus on WH question like what, what's, for what is or what has, what'll, for what will or what shall, where, what, for what are, what of, for what have, where is, for where is or where has, who, whose, like the word whose, instead of who is or who has, who've instead of who have, who're instead of who are, who'll instead of who will or who shall, who'd for who would or who had. And after you clarified all of this linking and contraction for your students, you should verify and make a variety of movie clips, radios, TV programs, podcasts, or other media. So the students listen exercises to help recognize contraction they hear. I think it's very difficult when a conversation of a native speakers, you feel that you can't understand the words at all because of the contraction and the linking words. Also, it's a good idea for your students to use recordings. Recordings will expand the background of the students to slang and idioms. So, students must learn how to recognize the spontaneous speech habits of native English speakers to master conversational skills. After that, we should clarify pronouns and basic verbs, pronouns of family members or basic verbs for animals, also numbers, basic actions, and you will start to teach your students how to build a sentence and start to teach them the present simple, the past simple, the present continuous, the past continuous, and so on. Since you taught him how to pronounce the words, you can make him to pronounce correctly and to use the English language correctly through sentence and to be correct in grammar and pronunciation. To sum up what we said in this video, that it's very important for your students to learn how to pronounce correctly. That gives him a great encouragement and confidence to speak without the fear of making mistakes. He has the fear of making mistakes and he don't speak to you inside the classroom or outside the classroom. But when you as a teacher decided that the first thing to teach to your students is the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation. It is the only step and the first step and the basic step to learn the English language and to speak and use the language without the fear of making mistakes. If your student learns how to pronounce correctly, he will learn everything related to the English language. When you teach grammar, when you teach reading, when you teach listening, and when you teach writing, he has the ability to understand you. But if he can't read or can't pronounce correctly, He can't communicate with you or with other people outside the classroom. And this is the difficulty in using the language itself. By teaching the pronunciation to your students, you will succeed in your job.